This episode of Midco Sports Magazine is presented by Shields and Sanford Orthopedics and Sports Medicine.
Welcome. This is our 42nd edition of Midco Sports Magazine and our last of 2016, and we are staying strong in this edition. We will hit you with some science and a story on head injuries in football. Not a lecture, but just a great discussion about concussions. And later, warm words of wisdom for the holidays. Try your best, be your best, even though you might not be the best. That's coming up. But we start with a story of a man named Oliver Mousseau, who never really went by his given name, although he certainly made one for himself in a sport that most people don't necessarily associate with Native American culture. Here's David Brown.
This is a story of a man with two identities, but one personality. A man from two families with one bond. A man from two worlds, but with one common goal. It's hard to keep track of all the different paths that have described Oliver Butch Mousseau, but it's easy to glide down the first one. Butch grew up in Boulder, Colorado, the youngest of four in a proud Oglala Sioux family that relocated to the Rocky Mountain State for work and opportunity. And when Butch saw an opportunity, he went to work.
I started teaching him how to skate when he was a young boy, 7, 8 years old. And right away he was a natural. Put the skates on and he just took off.
He liked going fast. And he found out he could go backwards as fast as he could forward. And he really, really liked that. He found what he loved to do.
And he loved being his own man, which started with his own name.
He was just a strong little guy. I'd say, you're just a Butch. You're just so tough, you're so strong.
He was always Butch, and that was how he introduced himself. And I had asked him, why not Oliver, and I never really got a straight story from him.
Butch never, in my eyes, acted like an Oliver. Oliver was always kind of a more serious kind of guy, and Butch always had a smile on his face and wasn't that serious.
But if he was serious about anything, it was hockey. The ability to skate was one thing, but perfecting his on-ice skills was something he would practice day and night, and every time in between.
He'd come and wake me up. Mama, wake up. We got ice this morning. We have ice time.
From 6 a.m. ice times to club tournaments across the country, Butch's parents drove him wherever he could harness his own drive. And while he was working near the University of Colorado, he found someone who shared that passion after seeing her every week for coffee at a local hangout.
Hockey was the very first thing we basically talked about, and he said he played hockey growing up, and I was explaining to him how I had just joined a women's team in Denver, and he just thought that was really cool.
As Butch's love for Makara deepened, so did his love for the game. And he found a new facet that would allow him to keep gliding well past his playing days.
He never even said specifically college or NHL. He just said, I want to be a professional referee. It's such a strange choice when people say that. As a referee, you're picking the one position that generally everybody dislikes you. And Butch is such a unbelievably good guy that really had no enemies in the world whatsoever. Maybe that was his way of trying to get people not to like him.
He realized, I really think that I'm decent at this, and I want to make a run at going as far as I can in this as a career. And so I was like, that's really exciting and awesome, and I support you, and let's do it.
Butch and Makara got married in 1998 and started a family, while also starting a whirlwind journey that brought them from Colorado to Florida to Michigan and back again. All along the way, Butch honed his referee skills across several different leagues.
The kids and I would be like the only ones cheering for the ref.
But his big break came in 2001, when he was selected to officiate a preseason NHL game featuring his hometown Colorado Avalanche.
It was so exciting. I knew how hard he'd worked to get to that point. And I remember walking in there and seeing him come out with the spotlight on him. And I was just overcome with pride.
While it was a pride his family embraced, it was one that Butch wanted to keep to himself. As the first Native American to ever officiate an NHL game, Butch's gear from that contest is in the Hockey Hall of Fame in Toronto, a fact no one in his family knew for years.
He said, "Did you know I'm in the Hall of Fame?" I said, "Oh, come on." He said, "No, for real." I said, "Oh my goodness, we're gonna have to go one of these days." And he said, "Yeah, we'll have to put that on our bucket list."
He was a very humble person, and he led by example.
That humility kept getting ingrained further and further the more Butch skated toward his ultimate goal. Because while he was chasing a dream to become a full-time referee in the hockey world, he was simultaneously chasing peace and purpose in the Native American world.
It was interesting because it was separate but still kind of intertwined, and he always said that I live in both worlds, and he really kind of did. His spiritual side was very sacred to him. He had recently started sundancing when I met him. He would go back to South Dakota to participate in the Sundance in the summers.
The Sundance is considered the most sacred of ceremonies among the Lakota. Participants dance and pray for 4 days without food or water. Butch's strength and resolve during the Sundance on the Pine Ridge Indian Reservation was something he passed on to his 3 children as they grew older.
Identity was very important to us as we were older. It was more than just being at a powwow and putting on your regalia or your costume and going out there.
He never broke his rhythm. He'd stand there and dance, pray with his, looking at the sun and praying and keeping.
It was Butch's enduring belief in the Lakota way that led him to one of the toughest decisions he could ever make. For the sake of his growing family, and with the NHL in labor trouble that would likely delay his ascension toward a full-time position, he cut back his officiating to part-time.
It was a really hard thing to accept for him.
He did a lot of compromising in his life, negotiating what was important to him, and I think he found that strength through sundancing.
While Butch worked a full-time job to support his family, he still got his fill of officiating. Along with participating in camps to help younger referees make their way up, he was still respected enough to officiate on a part-time basis, including the 2008 NCAA Frozen Four in Denver. But in March of 2016, his family and friends got a call that Butch had fallen during the warm-up skate at a game in Michigan.
And I'm like, tripped on the ice. He is by far one of the better, if not the best, skaters across all of NCAA referees.
I got up and I went into the bedroom and the phone rang again, and it was Fran. She said, "Mama, we got to get going. I just talked to the doctor. It's not good. We got to get going."
Butch suffered a head injury and was placed in a coma, as doctors hoped the swelling in his brain would go down.
And I prayed, and I kept saying to myself, yeah, he'll come out of it. I believe that.
Always, I thought, Butch is strong. He'll make it. He'll make it. I really thought he was going to get better, but he didn't.
After 1 week in a coma, Butch Mousseau died on March 25th at the age of 48. Within the hockey world, several NHL players and former referee colleagues attended his service in Boulder. Although Butch was originally a nickname, it was another moniker of Red Eagle or Wanbli Luta that allowed his spirit to soar in front of more than 1,000 people. Back on the reservation where Butch was buried in a separate ceremony, the melding of his worlds is complete. A hockey referee and a spiritual leader lies here. A man adored by fans and colleagues as well as his wife and children lies here. And a man who loved making his hockey family and his Lakota family proud lies here for all the world to see.
One of the things he told me when we first were together was that he wanted to change the world. He literally said that. You know, over the last few months, I just have reflected back on that comment 20 years ago. I think he did change at least a lot of people's lives and impacted them in a positive way.
All I know is that he was a wonderful person, and he made this world a better place because he was here.
And joined now by David Brown. And like a lot of young officials coming up, you get razzed a lot by the fans. And I would imagine, though, Butch probably got more than his fair share, didn't he?
Yeah, fans are going to disagree with the referees pretty much no matter what, but his family members and his friends admitted he heard some pretty nasty things early on based on his race, based on his heritage. But he had a coping mechanism, a common retort, if you will, that if a fan disagreed with him or said something that was offensive to his Native American heritage, he would just say, "Nice job, pumpkin," or "Good call, pumpkin."
All right, and obviously this has been awful, terrible for his family. How are they doing?
His widow says that his 3 kids are each dealing with it a little bit differently. It's still pretty fresh as of now. It's only been 8 months, but they did have a community hockey tournament in Boulder over the summer, and that raised a lot of money to help for medical expenses. So financially, they're doing okay, but obviously processing his death will still take some time.
All right, thanks, David. Thanks for watching. You can find every episode of Midco Sports Magazine on YouTube.
This has been Midco Sports Magazine, presented by Shields and Sanford Orthopedics and Sports Medicine.